Welcome, everyone. This is Mindful Leadership Beyond Borders. Welcome to our guests today, Gill and Clay Ross, and we're going to be discussing birds and birders and the importance of birds in our lives. And this guy, his name is Sammy, yeah, and he's welcoming you to our show today. And how do I know Gill and Clay Ross? Well, they're neighbors. And I noticed over the days when they moved here just over a year ago, I guess. Yes, just over a year ago, right? And all these birds were collecting at their home, right? And they're just flying everywhere. I'm thinking, okay, well, I love birds too. I mean, we have a bird bath, and I go and fill the bird feeder every day, etc. And so we formed a conversation and a bond around birds and the importance of birds in our lives. And let me just start by asking you that question. How are birds really important to you, or why are birds really important to you in your life?
Because we're photographers, the first interest we had is of photographing birds. And that then raises a second question as to, you get a shot of the first bird and it's a terrible picture, the bird's out of flight or out of sight, and you've got to improve it. So what do? You create an environment where the birds are going to come and feed in a place that you can photograph them. That's the easy part. And then you start photographing, you get some good birds, but you start learning how and why and what attracts birds. And that's what I've done. Is I'll study the birds as they're feeding it up. This is just on the small, at my house, local scenario. And you watch what birds eat. And if I buy a food and they're not eating it, it's not the right food. So then I look and listen and read the books about what to feed them. And I feed according to the bird. So, for example, some birds only eat Niger seed.
Mm-hmm.
And others only eat corn. So then you start making this a diet that will suit them all, and that gets them in. And then there's, of course, the breeding season. When's the breeding season? Do you supply water for them? And if you start supplying feed for any animal, and I'm talking now for dogs, cats, cattle, anything, don't stop feeding because they become dependent on you, and you stop feeding accidentally or intentionally, some of them are going to stop. That's just the basic of the management. Always make sure there's water available.
Yeah,
that's sure. It sounds, it's easy, just have a bird bath, but that bird bath does dry up in hot weather. And then the fascination comes with photographing the birds. And for example, we get hummingbirds here in the island in Canada. Fascinating little birds, very fast flying. But I wanted a photograph of hummingbird still flying, but stationary. And I wanted to photograph that hummingbird with its wings that I could see the feathers. That took me 3 years of practice.
Wow.
Hours and hours there until I captured the ideal picture of a hummingbird hovering, considering that their wing beats are going at up to 10,000 beats a minute. I had to set my cameras on a steady base, and the camera speed was set at 6,000th of a second to capture that bird's wings moving and get the color. You had to get the bird in the sunshine because of the shadow spoiled it. Everything had to be. It was a sunny day, sun creates shadows, so shadows mask a bird. And all these things intensify your experience with birds of how can I do it? Then when you go walking, suddenly you stop and there's a wild bird sitting, singing in the bush, and you get a good shot of it. It creates the intensity and your interest in birding. And that's what we, over the years now. And COVID did a big thing to get our birding going, because we used to go out every day, the two of us with our cameras, and birds was an easy subject. So we got better and better and better, ducks and small little songbirds. And now we've got a big database of birds that we have copied, studied, and photographed, and the evolution of becoming a birder.
But I have to tell you that when we came from Africa, where there's a greater variety, a bigger, more colorful bird selection than we had in Alberta, certainly, and COVID suddenly hit us. And we hadn't paid any attention to the birds in Canada because they seemed so ho-hum, you know. Anyway, we decided when COVID, we would head out, as Clay said, every day to go and find new species. And we would go out before the rest of Calgary was even awake and be in parks and places like that. And over the year of COVID, year or two of COVID, 2 years of COVID, we amassed a vast amount of birds that we did not even know existed. And so we had to eat crow, as they say. Crow is another bird. And, you know, we found there are some colorful, they're not all these little brown jobs as we were initially thinking. So it was a very interesting exercise for us, and we're thrilled we became birders because of that.
And then a side story out of that, we found down in Waterton a mama fox who had 2 babies. We used to sit and watch her feeding these babies every day and what she would bring back to them. And the one day she brought back a little baby fawn, dead, but she fed this to the babies. And we took the pictures that we had and took it to the senior rangers and said, look what we got. It was a mother who killed a baby fawn and was feeding it to her babies, documented in hundreds of pictures.
Wow.
The parks, the game rangers had never seen this happen, that a fox would kill something as big as a baby fawn.
Yeah.
So that was the first year. We went back the next year, same foxhole, and the mama fox had been killed. They don't know why or what for, but Papa Fox was there. Now the question came, could the Papa Fox take over the duties of the Mama Fox? So the television out of Calgary, the CTV, the big television station, did a documentary on the foxes. And the question was being asked by people, can he feed the babies? And it caused a big stir in the nature people. Can Papa do the job? And we saw him bringing in dead gophers for the babies. So he did resume the factor. And then a picture of the one baby who was licking his face and saying, thank you, Dad. And the government people posted that on the federal site, this male fox having its face licked by the baby. And
on Father's Day.
He was nominated the father of the
on Father's Day.
But this is we're on birds, and Clay has recorded so many how the male birds take up the feeding duties.
Yeah, and this people say, well, is it the mother who feeds them? Negative. It's the dad who does the feeding in a lot of cases. So this is what's come out of sitting with a camera and studying birds.
So let's back up a little bit, because you guys are what's called birders. So what is a birder?
Somebody who's interested in either recording or watching birds.
And they do counts. They monitor the flocks and stuff like that. And quite honestly, not all of them are photographers by any stretch of the They all got binoculars, and they'll say, oh, I see such and such, and it might be 400 yards away, and they're recording it that they've seen such and such a thing. But they bird counts, and they do monitor the migrations and where there might be differences from one year to another and why.
And it's true, if you join a group of birders and you can join them and just become part of the group, and they go in groups of about 10 to 15 and then have a leader who is sometimes a botanist. And the one thing about it is you learn about your birds, but also you make some good personal friends out of it. Because there'll be people from the local area who have an interest in either have a pair of binoculars or a camera. And it's a very relaxing social event to go out watching birds.
Mm-hmm.
So that embraces it, and you don't think birders.
Mm-hmm. So, I have so many questions. I don't know where to start. But like, how did you become birders? Did it just kind of naturally evolve, or
You
how
have
did?
to have interest in birds, obviously.
I think it evolved particularly because of what we discovered over COVID. So
We couldn't
Okay.
travel.
couldn't
Oh, you
so
couldn't travel, right?
head south or whatever it is. So it was finding more to record or be part of our photography locally,
Mm-hmm.
and certainly now Vancouver, just outside Vancouver, not far from Tawasin, is the George C. Rifle Migratory Bird Sanctuary. And that is an absolute gem. You can travel or wander the paths for kilometers and see hundreds of species of birds there. And it's really quite magnificent. It's worth the trip there. If you're going over onto the mainland, it's about 10 minutes from Tawasin. Go to the George C. Rifle Migratory Bird Sanctuary. They built dikes, some with salt water, some with fresh water. So you've got a complete cross of the bird species there, and it's really quite something.
Wow, that is really cool. So, what did? Thank you. I'm sure people will want to know, those who live here locally, or if you're coming to Canada, make a point
Yeah,
of it. Clearly,
absolutely.
yeah, you speak so highly of it. So, what do you love about being birders? What makes it joyful for you?
Is for me the excellence of the picture that you can take, or once you've taken your initial picture of a little finch sitting on the fence, a very easy picture to take. Then you start going for other things,
Mm,
them fighting, feeding, how they've evolved, and you start getting the other aspects of more interest in a bird flying can be an
mhm.
extremely difficult thing to photograph.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like the
That's what
swallows, a Clay's present challenge.
and this takes many hours of observation and sitting, watching the animals, and then doing what you want to do, improving your skills around
Mhm,
birding. And
mhm,
it's something that you can do whether you're 50 or you're 95. You can do this whether you're in a wheelchair or not in a wheelchair.
mm.
You can do birds.
But what links birds and photography? Now you can imagine now, like when we're in Botswana, they have between 400 or 500 species of birds. So you've got plenty to photograph there.
Yeah.
But even here, it doesn't matter where you are on the island, whether it be an eagle or a heron or whatever it is. It's amazing how when you go back and see your images, you know exactly where that bird was.
Oh.
You know
Mhm,
that they're that distinct that yes,
mm.
that's where I took that one, and it's amazing the recall images bring to mind, which I find wonderful.
Oh, great. Well, listen, we're going to take a bit of a pause here, folks, but come back for part two because we're going to be discussing the importance of birds to us humans. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.